Hey everybody, welcome to week 4 of my road to 100 million. And this time around, well, we have I talked about last week, like we were approaching and even hitting the break-even point for base legendaries, and finally seeing some gold increases. And let me tell you, that's continued. That's continued. This is the week where things are really starting to look up. So let's dive right in. We got it here. So this is our current gold, 21.8 million. And for the discerning viewers, will already notice that we have had 18.6 last week. So that's 3.2 million in liquid gold profit this week. So that's fantastic. That's what you're dreaming about. Sales this week, 10 million, which is about 8 million. That's about 1.8 million more than last week, actually. And it's all on Draenor. It's all on Draenor. I had 9 million just on Draenor this week. So not quite sure why that was, why I made so much more gold on Draenor. Possible that I've just been better at keeping all of the base legendaries in stock. I don't remember if I did more restocking or not, but we definitely had one really big day. The reset day is the biggest I've ever had. So this one right here, 5.2 million, and then 1.4 the day after, and another 1.3 today. So it's just been a really strong week for Draenor. Nothing to say about that. Of course, very dominant. And it continues. My main realm continues to dominate completely my percentage of sales. So that will mean that most likely, if I'm going to reach 100 million, we'll end up with as much as the target will be as much as 60, 70, 80 of that will have to be on my main realm with the current distribution of sales. Of course, we're not doing anything high value on the other realms. Not much there. So one thing I haven't really bought any BOEs this week. A couple of them, but quite few. I don't think. No, I actually haven't bought any. We've sold a couple, many for a loss. I'm not a huge fan overall right now of the BOE market in Shadowlands. It's very hard to find deals, and the market is trending downwards rapidly. So it's just not fantastic to me at all. So I'm not gonna focus much on it. I don't think that's gonna prop up my multi-realm flipping empire. So we will have to see what I do about that. I'll probably want to just aim at being more active, buying and restocking battle pets and some other cosmetic markets way more often than I've done in the past. But we'll see. There may be other flipping opportunities. You obviously have the base legendaries. The problem with flipping them is that it's a very competitive market. So unless you're cancel scanning or at least reposting more regularly than I typically do on my other realms, it's just not gonna move the needle much. So that's a little sad. One thing I've noticed was a little bit interesting on my BOE sales, or base legendary sales, I should say. So I've been selling a lot of them, a very large amount of them to, not very large perhaps, but a decent chunk of them I've been selling them to other people, other crafters who reset the markets. Because for a while I have had 110% of the material cost as my base cost, or my minimum price, I should say, in my auctioning operation. And many of them have typically been posted at 110%, and then my crafting cost has changed slightly because the material cost has changed, and then it's posted another at my min price because now the old one is no longer the actual minimum price of the operation, and then TSM will repost. So then I end up making a wall of like 3 of each at 110 crafting, and then someone comes along eventually and resets. So I've increased that to 30%, 130% of the crafting cost. We'll see how that goes into next reset. It's going to be a little bit exciting. Hopefully, it means we see more sales, or at least more expensive sales. And the couple of days since the reset have been pretty good. even without like reposting heavily. And of course, it's the weekend, so it's not when people typically buy legendaries. But I've still seen sales like I craft, I repost it. It works out. It's just nice. I've been slacking a little bit on the Crafter's Mark crafting this week as well, and that is another great high volume market. So we'll see what we can do about that, and if there's something to materially change or whatever. So yeah, as you can see, my on Draenor right now, my inventory is literally filled to the brim with base legendaries. I have a bunch more on the auction house. I do have a small amount of sales coming in. I should have right now sitting at 3.9 million on my banker account on this realm. So if we take a look at the dashboard, it's gonna look well. Shouldn't write 7 TSM, but I should write TSM in chat. So if you look at the last week, or I could look at the overall graph for like the last month and or 3 months, and since launch, I didn't quite get the last couple of days where I've spent some gold, but yeah, finally, boom. The last 2 weeks when I stopped leveling my base legendaries has just been huge. And if we look at the last week, 8.9 million according to TSM, 1.5 million average per day in sales, which is pretty heavy. I did last week. I started doing a little bit of inscription again. I crafted a couple of Darkmoon decks. I've sold them all. And it's still cutthroat, and it's still like incredibly top heavy and very variable. It's a market that requires a little bit more babysitting than I prefer. So I did not follow it up. I might do missives. I'll take another look at missives because they're quite a bit nicer in terms of reposting than the Darkmoon decks, where there's such a large difference in price, whereas these are all very close in price. But the Darkmoon decks have like if we can take a look. Back when I did the math, yeah, like this one is for 7k. The crafting cost was about 2.7, I think, per deck when I did the math. So it might be very profitable at these prices now that these two are up again. Because when earlier this week, they were all like 1,000 gold, except for the Veracities. But I mean, you're just hoping for Veracities because none of the other decks are particularly good. So I don't think I'll be doing it anymore. It's also very annoying and time consuming. And I can spend I have crafting time that's free because I am pretty much I'm very well stocked up on all of my base legendary materials. Like my inventory is starting to get pretty nice and big. Like, look at this. We have enchanted heavy calicides. We have a chunk of them. We have 800 bars, a couple of thousand enchanted silk. So I'm gonna need like a little bit more calicides and some more lithium bars before the reset. That's for sure. But not that much. We also have 900 ingots, and I have a bunch of ore that I can turn into Shadowgast ingots as well, as far as I know. So we're just gonna be cruising essentially. There were some cool sales this week that stood out to me on some of my other realms, including selling a T-Boost Scorching Straight Sword from BFA. Sold that for 100k, bought it for 70. And just in general, the Island Expedition gear, I sold a mount. I captured Dune Scavenger on one of my realms. I sold some BOEs. But yeah, the Island Expedition gear, there's still probably flipping opportunities for many of these items. Because there's no supply coming in. Like I could seriously just reset this item right now. Because people aren't farming these anymore. The only question is like how much stock do they have? Outside of base legendary is probably like 90-ish% of my sales in a general week these days. So there's nothing really that's on the same level at all for me. Everything else is just like filling in the sides and the slots with just a little bit more gold. And there are, of course, some items that do that pretty well. You have the ATV mount from Legion. No, not from Legion, from BFA. Been selling quite a few of those when I can be bothered restocking them. Of course, as you can see here, Shadow Steel. The Crafters Mark II gear is coming in, and we should, of course, not bother with vendor stuff here. So that's all there is to it. This is like 90% of my sales, and it's literally just Shadow base legendaries and Crafters Mark II gear all the way down, because I did not, well, I had some ATVs, but I sold out on those about a week ago, so just the last couple of them this week. So that's something I'll have to restock. I also restocked a Vial of the Sands this week, and we do try to keep up on top of my Sky Golem cooldowns, but I can't be bothered always because it's not that profitable at the moment. Living Steel prices, Ghost Iron bars are a little too expensive. So I don't always keep on top of that. I do not. And it's not moving the needle as much as just making sure I keep all of my legendaries in stock. And that's what I'm doing. Craft up to 3 and sell them. And it works so well. It works so well. Like, you can't argue with this. 34 million over the last 30 days in sales. It's just amazing. So yeah, this week was fantastic. Average sales, average mailbox size, about 800. I think it should be more. This must be from last week or whatever. This is my total average. Yeah, that's what this is. So I crushed my total average this week. Just fantastic. I mean, look at this. Everything is green. All of my realms had more, ended the week with more gold than I started with. I do think I'll have to make this list a little bit longer. I'll probably have to add a couple of realms, since BOEs are not it's not something I'll be doing, or not something I'll expect to make a lot of money on my off realms. So that means we'll have to probably want to add a couple more for battle pets, just so I can have more battle pets in swing and just be on more realms. So that's something I'll consider. We'll see if we have time to do this. Maybe on Thursday we can set up a couple of more realms and buy some battle pets. It's been a while since I've shopped already. So that's definitely the priority going forward on my off realms. But compared to this, nothing really matters. Like, this is where I'll be making my gold, and this is where I'll be by far putting in the most amount of progress towards the challenge. So yeah, guys, this was a fantastic week. Hopefully next week can be as good. It's nice to finally see significant gold making. I mean, at this point, we'll like potentially gold cap on Draenor in 2 to 3 weeks, which would be pretty funny. I'm not going to target that specifically. I'll still be building the best long-term bases I can, but once you're rolling, you're rolling. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, goodbye, guys.